picture we're looking at right now is looking west at the Clinton Depot. You'll notice that off in the background there's a passenger train going north-south across the diamond, and then this is part of a three-way Y that we're standing on that goes south toward Decatur.
Okay, so that went toward Decatur.
Mm-hmm.
And this went west toward...
The track that you can just barely see in the corner of the picture there is what they call the southbound line that went to Springfield.
Oh, okay.
Even though it didn't go south, it went east-west through town.
Yeah.
Well, railroads
right.
railroads only go two directions. They either go north-south or east-west.
Yeah.
Okay, they don't, you know. So they theoretically had two southbound tracks
Okay.
in Clinton,
And this track here is the north and south.
which was part of the original main line.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the original main line. Through Clinton, through that part of town, it was double track through there,
Okay.
as it was east and west.
Okay. Let's, now this is a picture you took.
Yeah, I took this in the early '80s. At this point, you can notice that several of the windows are open. The abandonment of the property has started. It's in somewhat disarray. I would say this was probably taken about '85 or '86.
Wow, that's
Because they were still using the depot when I went there in 1981.
Really?
Yes. They were only using the top two floors. The third floor, obviously, you can see is all blocked off.
Okay.
All that stuff. In that was still the original records as far back as employee number 1
Really?
that all went to the Genealogical Society.
Oh, so it is saved.
As far as I know, it is.
Okay.
I've not been able to find out who got the papers after they were then taken out to the museum there in Clinton, and I don't know from that point where they went.
Okay. Okay.
This is Bloomington. This is the GM&O. This is the shop track. Of course, obviously you can see the sand tower. The cars to the right are the oil or the diesel fuel cars that supplied the fuel for these locomotives.
Okay.
This picture was taken from the east or from the south end looking into the shops. The shops are over here on the left-hand side. They're still in the thralls of having both the old babyface F units and the new Jeep units at the same time.
Okay.
And then the building to the back is the car shops
Okay.
that were originally part of the old Alton route, the old Chicago and Alton Railroad, that originally were part of the old Pullman company
Okay.
that built Pullman rail cars there in the early years, and then turned it over to the Alton route, who built freight cars, and Pullman built freight cars at that point in time.
Wow.
Yeah, there's quite a few diesels there.
Big shops.
This is the bridge over on Market Street, over the east end or the south end of the yard track. The yard track ends out at that point right there.
Okay.
That was a GM&O freight car and caboose, and I just liked the picture, so I took it.
Yeah. Very
You'll notice the light standard there in the background. The yard was operated 24 hours a day,
Okay.
7
this
days a
here,
week, day and night.
Wow.
And you could literally, when I was working there as a radio repairman, I repaired caboose radios. And that was probably when I was working, supposedly working.
Okay.
I worked the afternoon shift. There's just a set of F units. The GM&O was probably EMD's biggest
Really?
buyer of F units I've ever seen. They had hundreds and hundreds of F units. They bought everything from an F3 all the way up to an FP9.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, now this looks...
This is the IC in Bloomington. This is the old turntable for the, they had a small roundhouse there. This is only about a 50 or 60 foot turntable. It'll hold an F unit, but that's about it. It would hold
Really? It looks short, yeah.
it would hold a small steam locomotive, like an 080
Uh-huh.
or an 060.
There's a good picture of it.
Yeah. I had originally thought that I was standing on a locomotive when I took this picture, but actually I was standing on the coal loading facility, looking down onto it.
Oh, okay.
It connects with the IC track yard to the right. The yard had about 7 tracks in it in Bloomington. The main is actually the track just to the right of this particular track. This was the lead track into the roundhouse. Yeah, the main was right there. You can see it to this side of the cars, barely.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's a switch here that went over into the cement plant that was behind the engine house. Modell and Scott, they made concrete blocks and what have you, and cement, you know.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a head-on shot. Of course, there's the cement plant in the background with all their silos.
Okay.
There's 3 different doors on this building. You have the old original arch door to the left. Then they put in a garage-type door after they stopped using locomotives in it. And it was strictly then, at this point, used for storage and for maintenance of way equipment. Then you have a big set of double wooden doors to the right.
Wow, that is strange that they'd have an arch here and not here.
Yeah, well, why, I have no clue.
Okay.
There's another shot of it. This is the coal facility, loading facility that they
okay.
used. Eventually, you know, and this track right here is the main,
Okay.
to the left of us here.
And this is
the cement plant behind it.
Okay.
At that time, the cement company owned the property, and they're probably the ones that put the garage door in, the overhead door in the center
Okay.
at that point. Of course, we've been down there since then, and it's been torn out.
Okay.
This is an RS3 or an RS2, I can't tell from this angle, in the GM&O yards
Okay.
with a SW unit behind it.
Okay.
Those were basically yard rooms. There's the tower that oversaw the whole yard, and the Pullman buildings are in the Pullman and Alton buildings in the background.
Oh, okay.
The buildings to the right of the tower were the office buildings, basically the yard office buildings.
Right in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all those were. You know, you had the yard foreman and people like that in those buildings. Yeah, that's the big 700s. That's the big reds. The day shortly after they came down from EMD. I have color pictures of those also.
Okay.
You'll notice in that picture
All right. I'll go back.
there's a passenger car sitting right there.
Oh yeah.
Maintenance
There
of way
is.
passenger car.
Okay. Yeah.
An old Pullman passenger car.
I've never seen that before. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
This is an evening shot. I thought it was really neat.
Very
with
nice.
the 900s, which were their big units. There's the 902 is sitting here. There's another one sitting to go in, getting ready to go
Okay.
into the shop for service.
Wow.
They basically serviced the units there. They changed the oil. They could do everything from major overhaul in the shop all the way down to just basically changing the oil or a light bulb, you know.
Whoop. Can go the wrong way there.
This is a shot taken from the Market Street Bridge looking down into the yard. In the background is which is the roundhouse. You can still see it there.
Right here?
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
roundhouse. And then the opening is between here and here.
Okay.
It later burned in the 70s. Some kids set it on fire.
Oh.
This was the general office for the yard, right here. The warehouse foreman, the shop foreman, they were in this office.
Okay. Now this is like a busy yard here.
Yeah, it was. Of course, right now there's not much in the yard over here. This yard was mainly repair equipment. My office was behind here,
Oh, okay.
where I was at, and usually the cabooses were parked in here. A lot of times, you'll notice there's one sitting there that needed the radios fixed. They'd push them in there, and we'd work on them there.
Okay.
There's a bunch of RS units up here in the corner. The crane is also up in this area. probably can't see it from this picture. 101 is up there. That's the one that hit the gravel truck up north of Toluca, or Towanda rather. They hit it and
Wow.
virtually destroyed it. And there's an E unit sitting right here.
Okay.
And of course, then there's the shops there, the big shops, the boiler house, obviously by the smokestack.
Now, what is this
That little building
building
is
right here?
that's the walkway building.
Right there.
Yeah, that building was the walkway.
Walkway.
You could walk. The employees would park their cars on the east side of the track in a big parking lot, and walk under the rail yard, and they'd come up right there. There was another one over behind my shop in the back. You could walk under the concrete tunnel all the way underneath the yards.
Okay.
Okay, and so that you didn't have to cross while they're working trains and what have
Sure,
you.
this
The
would be
guys that
busy
worked in the
too.
shops and the guys that worked in the facilities would come to work, and they'd come up through that.
Okay, because this gives you access to all the area here.
It gives you the access to this whole area here.
Wow.
Of course, the guys that worked in the shops sometimes would be able to come in on a road that came back here between the roundhouse and that. But it got very precarious because there were a lot of buildings and a lot of cars sit back there, and there were some guys that got hit a couple of times.
Really?
Yeah, nobody was ever killed back there that I know of, but a lot of guys got bunged up pretty bad because they walked between cars when they were switching. You know, that was the yard lead here into the roundhouse.
Okay.
So it was quite active in the early days of the steam era.
Okay.
You know,
Now, what is this?
1776, taken in Clinton, Illinois, about Christmas time. There's another photograph of it that has Santa Claus's caboose. If you'll notice,
Oh.
it says Santa Claus across the back of it.
Okay.
That was taken in Clinton. And of course, the IC was big into promoting things, so you could walk through the locomotive and see it. This, I believe, was the second 1776. The first one was in a wreck and was virtually destroyed.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But this was a Paducah rebuild, or as some of us like to say, Paducah reject.
I think I was in this in Sublette, north of Minnesota.
They went on a big tour every year at Christmas time. They'd stop in towns like Clinton. They'd stop in LaSalle for a while. They'd go to Amboy or Sublette maybe, and then go up to Freeport, and then they'd take it all the way to the south. Santa Claus was obviously in the caboose,
Wow.
and they'd have the kids come and what have you. On this particular day, Santa Claus wasn't there. There's no step to get into the caboose. They're just showing off the locomotive.
Oh, okay.
Santa Claus apparently had gone back to the North Pole or something, I don't know.
Wow.
And this is a typical IC with the wooden window, service window in the center of the caboose.
And why is that there?
I really don't know.
That's interesting. Was it just so?
Well, basically,
Conductor
they
could
didn't
stick
have a
his-
wide vision caboose
Oh, okay.
in the early years.
Okay.
Okay, these wooden and metal cabooses. So this was a door that would open, and you'll notice the rubber pad there. The brakeman
Okay.
could lean out of the caboose.
Look at that.
The brakeman could lean out of the caboose and
Sounds right.
watch the train.
Wow.
Keep an eye on the train
On
from
the
that
tr-
vantage point.
On the journals, if they were smoking
Right,
or if they were
right.
hot. Or,
Plus, of course, you had one that sat up in the cupola.
Okay. What are we looking at here, Stu?
The rebuilding of the IC bridge in LaSalle, and the large pier in the center
Ah, yes.
is
there
the
it
one that was the swivel span. This was after the swivel span was taken out and the new erection of the steel over the waterway was being built. And the bridge was being raised at this point 18 inches
Wow.
from its original point.
So they still ran trains across while
They were still running
building.
trains. I'm sure that at some points in time they didn't run train all the time.
Okay.
But you're talking a track that probably had 8, 10, 12 freights a day going across this bridge.
Okay.
You just couldn't stop everything and say, well, guys, we're going to close everything.
Okay.
You can still see the old piers
There
here
it is, yeah.
before they got them taken out.
Okay, yeah. So these were put in anew,
Yeah.
the big ones,
Mm-hmm.
and
You see how short these are?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And see how far they're raising it up. This is the swivel span still in existence at that point, while
Wow.
they're building the piers for the new bridge. The swivel span is between this point and this point. And of course, you can see the metal swivel point that's in the middle of it.
Yeah, let's take a close look at that if I can zoom in here.
Notice the guy on the ladder in the background.
Oh yeah, right there, yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, he was
Wow.
apparently down in the work area and is climbing up to the top of the bridge.
Wow. Very interesting. Yeah, that was the pier I took a picture of.
That's the one that
Above.
we didn't know what it was for so long a time.
Yeah, we didn't, because it's looking pretty worn out now. I mean, you've got it deteriorating pretty bad. Now there it is.
Now there's a shot of it before they started the expansion.
Wow.
There's obviously
It's a very
engineers
early shot.
and what have you. The deepest part of the channel is right here where this bridge is.
Okay. Really?
Yes. And then after time, they moved the channel further to the north.
Okay.
There's a picture of it as it is much today.
Yeah. we
Very
went out there.
deteriorated, taking a very bad beating.
Yeah, it's not easy getting out there either. Not really.
You can walk out to the top of it,
Yeah.
but this side of it's taking a beating in high water. The other side's in pretty decent shape, but this
Yeah.
side is very,
Yeah.
it's probably not going to last another 20 years. There's an original blueprint of the span.
Okay. Wow.
You'll notice the high water mark.
Where was that?
High water
oh,
mark.
yeah, okay.
Water gauge 12'6" there.
Wow.
There's the LaSalle yard. Depot is gone.
And this was what year about?
71 or 72. About
Okay.
72.
Right. So the depot used to sit about right here.
Yes.
Okay. And it looks
That's
like
the old engine house.
the engine house is still there.
Mm-hmm. This is the main right here. You can see by the shiny rails. The rusty rails are the track that leads down to the Rock Island.
Okay.
And I'm standing right about First Street.
Okay. Are there any tracks left today?
Just this track and that track.
Okay. And Buzzy Unisum, you said,
Unichim.
operates that
Mhm.
now.
You'll notice the maintenance away passenger car in the background. And then there's wooden freight cars over here that are part of the maintenance away equipment.
We're gonna have to look at that.
Yeah.
Zoom in on that.
Those are
Oh,
one of them's
yeah.
one of them's a bunkhouse car, and the other one's probably the kitchen
Wow.
for the maintenance away train. And then off to the left here is the freight house.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Very interesting.
This shot was taken probably the same time period, taken looking south across the bridge.
Okay. There's the
Um,
bridge.
You'll notice the track that's here. That's the track that leads down to the Rock Island, goes down the grade. There's a switch here that I'm standing on. That led into the old lumber yard, which was also part of the old coal company area.
Okay.
The old coal tower sat up here. This is just a maintenance building of some sort. This is the little, what do you call them, Gandy dancer car shed right here.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they'd bring the for the maintenance for the little maintenance cars and that equipment and stuff.
Okay. So I see painted a lot of their buildings like that.
Basically,
gray, that
a
light
dab
gray.
grayish color
Okay.
or an off-color green that faded over the years.
Okay.
This shot was taken from the top of the coal silos in LaSalle. This is a picture of the
The cement silos.
yeah, the cement silos.
Okay.
This is the mine office, the mine
Okay,
rescue
yeah.
station. That's the
This
mine
is-
rescue station
Yes. And why
And-
did they set up a mine rescue station?
because of the Cherry Mine disaster.
Okay.
And of course, this is the Uranage Coal and Oil Company here, and this is the old Phillips 66 or Skelly Oil Company. Now the city water plant sits over here.
Oh, okay.
And this is the IC tracks, obviously. Oh,
Well, that's in there. That is a picture you took from Mendota, though.
yes, that's
Yeah.
an F unit taken up in Mendota, Milwaukee. A little bit worse for wear.
Yeah.
This is the other end of that same unit that's in the picture. And all this steam and smoke is actually coming off of a diesel. It's
Yeah.
doing switching.
At first, I thought there was a fire somewhere, and I thought, well, maybe this was something wrong with the film. And I thought, no, there's the silo. I know that farm.
Yeah.
And there's a Jeep here, you said.
Yeah. And they're working off the main line. There's a Jeep right there. You can just barely see the outline of the Jeep.
Yeah.
It's doing the switching.
Wow. I like that shot.
Yeah. There's a side shot of those two units.
That
The
was
Milwaukee at this time was still running down to Cherry, Ladd, and then down to Depue.
I don't think they were going to Cherry, but definitely Ladd.
Well, they went through Cherry.
Well, they went to Ladd, and then they went up to Cherry. In the 50s, they did. They had a grain elevator there.
This
that
was
they were
taken in
still
71.
servicing. Okay, yeah. So that would
71,
have been
72.
gone then.
Yeah, that line would have been gone. But I mean, that would have been the same line that they would have been on.
Yes,
It passed
yeah.
to the south side of Mendota.
Right. Uh-oh,
Oh
who's
my
that?
gosh. That's my old N-gauge layout.
Okay.
The starts of it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It later became 13 by 12 foot square. At this point, it's a little bit bigger than, not quite a 4 by 8. It's about a 4 by 6.
Okay. Interesting.
I had both HO and N-gauge, but in the house we were at in the basement, which was very poor shape over on 4th Street in LaSalle, the only thing I could put in the basement was my N-gauge layout.
Oh, okay.
That's taken down in LaSalle.
Oh, is it? Okay.
The building in the background is the old power plant building.
Okay.
Over here is, on the corner is what's left of Schermerhorn oil, or no, Uranich oil.
Okay.
This building is now gone.
Okay.
It was torn down, and the LPS is down there now.
Okay.
Liquid Petroleum Feed, LPF, or whatever it is.
I was wondering.
Ah, the
What is
Peru
that?
LaSalle and Deer Park tank engine, number 2.
So this is number 2, huh?
Yep.
Wow.
I think it's a Davenport. It's an 060. It was behind Westclocks, down
Really?
there by Tabor Grain.
What was Tabor Green at?
Basically to the west of the IC and the CB&Q depots. And the old, back then it was the Buckman Iron Company.
Okay, you mean the Rock Island?
It was south of the Rock Island,
South of the Rock Island. Okay.
between the Rock Island and the river.
Okay, very interesting picture.
That's Clinton. A little bit of everything. A little
Yeah.
bit IC, a little bit ICG, a little bit, you know, the orange and white units.
Now, what are these the black units?
Those are the original black,
GM&O? Or?
yeah, before the Death Star. This was before the Death Star era. That's a Jeep 30 right there.
Oh, yeah, that's
That's a GM&O Jeep
Yeah,
30.
right. Those are dirty GM&O units.
Yeah,
Wow. I've never seen them that dirty.
they got pretty dirty.
Now this is a
This is this is a working train somewhere around LaSalle. This
1950s.
has the old passenger air tanks on it. Those were used for passenger service, and of course, after they stopped the passenger service in the 50s with these Jeep units, they later turned them into freight units, and that gave them extra braking power.
Okay.
This is El Paso.
Okay. Wow.
Train ran right through downtown.
Amazing.
I'm not sure where this shot is.
But nevertheless, the motive power from that era. in
It's a
the
Jeep 7 and a
50s
Jeep 9,
60s.
both.
I know they used them. Okay.
Here's Clinton again,
Okay.
one of the 700 units. And the IC, this is an IC engine, which was a Paducah rebuild, probably a GP18 at that point.
Wow.
This is an ICG engine in the orange and white, and then the GM&O.
Wow. Quite the transition, the meeting in the middle. you know, mix this and mix that, and you get that. Right. Back to the, let's see, I think, all right. Now, real quickly, let's look at the coal. Well, there's a few pictures in here. What are we looking at here?
That's the CB&Q bridge.
Okay, now this apparently was taken from the Illinois Central
Right,
Mile.
from the Mile Long Bridge, looking down at the Burlington Railroad Bridge.
And they were that close to each
They
other.
ran under each other. This is the start of probably the demolition of the bridge.
September or June 17th, 1980. Wow.
Of course, there's the span as it's being loaded on a barge after they've cut it loose, getting in the process of cutting it loose.
Wow.
You'll notice in the background is the Shippingsport car bridge in the background,
Yeah. Interesting.
which was the other lift bridge.
Okay, now we're going to go to coal mines here, if I can find that folder. And that will wrap it up here.
Union 74 coal mine. It's a postcard
Okay.
of the west end of Peru, or actually the east end of Peru. This is obviously a view of the carbon coal company at LaSalle. Here again, it's a postcard. The things of interest that interested the person that made the postcard are in color,
Okay.
the background and the mine. Everything else is black and white.
Okay. Yeah.
This bridge here spans, this is the Rock Island main line below it, double track. And this little bridge took the slag from the mine across the Illinois-Michigan Canal and the railroad and dumped it across on the south side. This is a loading facility right here to load barges at the canal.
Okay, I see that. Yeah. Okay. If we take a closer look, and we'll see that.
Yeah, they would bring the coal. They'd bring the coal out on this, dump it in here, dump it down to the barge.
Now I see some tracks going up here.
Yeah, that's a service track, and then there's also a switch that went in here underneath the silo. They're very short.
Oh, I see that.
Yeah, it swings in, and then this track later went on to the Rockwell mine, which is down behind this picture,
We'll
further
see
to
that.
the east. See, here's this same mine. Here's the track that leads to the Rockwell
Okay.
along the upper cliff.
Okay.
That's looking northwest at the LaSalle mine, from down below looking up at it.
Okay.
And that's the top looking northeast. This is this picture is the Union 74 mine. This is the Rock Island tracks that serviced it in the front, and then also the low coal loading facility way in the background. It's kind of hard to see right back there. And then the bridge that goes across that took the slag across the all of that clear back across the canal and everything else over by where the landfill, the old landfill used to be.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Also in the background, if you pan to the right here,
All right. Just give me a minute
they had two tipples, one here and one here. They had two shafts. Okay. The coal would be brought up from the mine and then sent right into the Western Clock Company. From this shaft fed Prue Power and Electric. Prue Power and Electric generating station is this other stack right here, the short
Really?
stack.
here. Okay.
This is West Clock's stack,
All right.
one of the original two.
Okay. Very interesting. Let's see. That's
That's
not a
in-
mining photo, but
That's in LaSalle.
okay. That was it of the mining ones here.
In the area.
We're basically south of Depue on the old 3I right-of-way, just before you get to the floodlands for the 3I bridge for the Illinois, Iowa, and Indiana Railroad. As you can see in the background, there's the concrete abutments are still here. The metal bridges have been taken out. The viaducts are all gone. But this is about it. They were taken out in 83 or 84 and scrapped, of course. The Milwaukee came across here. This was the original, or part of the original New York Central line. Also, they picked it up from the 3I. This got them around the Chicagoland area and then got them up to Ladd, where they interchanged and then went west from there. Of course, as we all know, the New York Central didn't go much beyond the Illinois, Iowa, Mississippi River area. But this was a major artery into Oglesby, Granville, Standard, to the coal mines in Standard, Granville, Mark. Standing on the old right-of-way for the interurban that ran from Joliet over to Princeton. The bridge, or the tunnel in the background, is dated 1907 when they put it through here. They ran about 4 trains a day through this part of the country. It paralleled the Rock Island here. Off to our north, or to my right, is the interchange with the New York Central with the plant. Off to my south, or my left, is the interchange between the Rock Island and the 3I bridge that this track goes under. Well, this is the old loading area for the zinc. The old clay mines over off to the left here. We're standing on a roadbed that came in through here. 2 other roadbeds. Here's what's left of the loader for loading the tailings from the zinc into the cars to get it out of here. You see the rail that's still here. This rail was up on top here. It's collapsed down to the bottom. The trestle has collapsed on itself or has been burned. Down here on my left is what's left of a mine car. The wheels and everything have been stripped off of it. The nose of it's laying here with the pole still intact. Off to my far right, there's part of a brick building. That's the old well. That's about 300, 400 feet down to the bottom of that, and it's caved in. Last time we were here about 10 years ago, you could get inside of it.
There's a trestle straight off out in that area there to your right there a little bit.
Right there, yeah. Well, see, this is the old sulfuric pit. The old sulfuric mill is behind us. The site of the old Kentucky mine. Came off the Kentucky vein. That little divot right up in there. It was a shallow one. It was only about 300 feet down. Then the right-of-way for the IC that we're standing on, and then the other right-of-way went up to the mine here. Then the M&H is up on top of the hill to our right, or to my right, and it was in the Danville vein of coal, named after Danville, Kentucky, Danville, Illinois. And this is the old M&H property. If you look up there, you can see a little bit of reddish purple color. That's where the clay mine was, in there. They go in there and get clay, bring it out, make retorts out of it, and they go over to the factory with it. And that's how they'd melt the zinc.